In a time of homelessness, bleakness, darkness, in a time when children suffer from being homeless, when over Christmas we've heard of people who have frozen to death on our streets, on a day when the New Year's honours list is declared, something needs to be said for ordinary people, ordinary families, many of whom suffer terribly, many of whom will continue to suffer under the Tories. I want just to read the last page or so from, yet again, the Ragged Trousered Philanthropists, from the chapter The Week Before Christmas. I guess we're now in the week after Christmas. It's talking about Owen going home to his son, Frankie. And you'll remember, if I put this in the story, that Frankie received a little kitten a while back. And although they haven't got much, they're still trying to look after the little kitten. Frankie was sleeping soundly when they reached home, and so was the kitten, which was curled up on the quilt at the foot of the bed. After they'd had some supper, although it was only 11 o'clock, Owen fixed a tree in a large flower pot that had served a similar purpose before, and Nora brought out from the place where it had been stored since last Christmas a cardboard box containing a lot of glitter and tinsel and ornaments, globes of silvered or gilded or painted glass, birds, butterflies and stars. Some of these things were done 3 Christmases ago, and although they were in some instances slightly tarnished, most of them were as good as new. In addition to these and the toys they had bought that evening, they had a box of bonbons and a box of small coloured wax candles, both of which had formed part of the things they got from the grocers with the Christmas Club money. And there were a lot of little coloured paper bags of sweets and a number of sugar and chocolate toy animals which had been bought 2 or 3 at a time for several weeks past and put away for this occasion. There was something suitable for each child that was coming. They're arranging a birthday party for Owen. With the exception of Bert White, they had intended to include a 6-penny pocket knife for him in their purchases that evening, but as they had not been able to afford this, Owen decided to give him an old set of steel graining combs, which he knew the lad had often longed to possess. The tin case containing these tools was accordingly wrapped in some red tissue paper and hung on the tree with the other things. They moved about quietly. As quietly as possible so as not to disturb those who were sleeping in the rooms beneath, because long before they were finished, the people in the other parts of the house had all retired to rest, and silence had fallen on the deserted streets outside. As they were putting the final touches to their work, the profound stillness of the night was suddenly broken by voices of a band of carol singers. The sound overwhelmed them with memories of happier times, and Nora stretched her hands impulsively to Owen, who drew her close to his side. They had been married just over 8 years, and although during all the time they had never really been free from anxiety for the future, yet no previous Christmas had they been so poor as now. During the last few periods of unemployment, had gradually become more frequent and protracted, and the attempt he made in the early part of the year to get work elsewhere had only resulted in plunging them further into an even greater poverty than before. But all the same, there was much to be thankful for. Poor though they were far better off than thousands of others. They still had food and shelter, and they still had each other and the boy. Before they went to bed, Owen carried the tree into Frankie's bedroom and placed it so that he'd be able to see it in all its glittering glory as he awoke on Christmas morning. That's beautiful. It's not even particularly political or particularly social. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Think how many others had saved up for this Christmas, joined Christmas clubs to buy what few gifts they could, had saved and worked and scrimped. Think of those who could buy nothing, whose children, like Frankie, would probably not even be able to look at a Christmas tree. Think of those people. Just think of them, because in the same way, they're around now, just like when Robert Tressel wrote this book. They're not the billionaires of this world that you see honoured in the so-called New Year's honours list. They're not the Nick Cleggs. They're not the captains of industry. They're not the tax-avoiding corporate scoundrels who seek to rob the poor. They're not those people. No, I imagine our billionaire ruling class had an absolutely beautiful Christmas. I imagine few of them, in fact I would go as far as saying to say none of them froze to death on the streets. Not one. The class of billionaires doing very well. But as for the rest of us, the grinding war against us, who are sick, disabled, poor, working poor, literally living on the margins of life, knowing that if we get a benefit declined or something from one day to the next, we may not even live to see the end of the week. And during that time, we so are supposed to honour billionaires and thieves. That's what this country has come to. But even in all of that, think about the story of Frankie. And think about Owen, his dad. And think about the presents that they saved, the tools even that they had saved for Bert the apprentice. How many Tory apprenticeships are there going now? How much like this story here, has our country already become? With that sort of thought, though, of solidarity and that thought of beauty, let's look forwards to 2018. And let's remember, vote Labour.